I'll break your effing phone. One burly dude said that to a woman who was filming her workout in a gym in Toronto, Canada. She didn't back down. She dropped F-bombs. He dropped more F-bombs, and it got heated. You can find the whole thing on social media if you want to see one example of influencers versus people in the background. More and more people, influencers, are filming their workouts, and lots of people in the background don't want to be props and unpaid extras. So what's a gym owner to do? What do you do when you're caught between an influencer and someone who's in a witness protection program? Now, I'm joking, of course, but it's not funny, right? It's not funny when clients are cursing each other out in the middle of your gym, or if it gets legal. So to help you, I've got a gym owning lawyer here today. His name is Matthew Becker. He's the owner of gymlawyers.com and Industrial Athletics in Pittsburgh. Matthew, thanks for making time for me. How are you?
Always a pleasure, Mike. I'm fantastic. Always love the intros and hopping on here to help gym owners.
Well, it's fun. We're trying to make some light of the legal stuff that gets technical and tough. But listeners, I did have Matthew consent to the recording of this episode. We made sure that was taken care of. And now we're going to ask him how you can cover yourself. So Matt, let's get into it. We've got all sorts of stuff. We've got privacy, free speech, publicity rights, private versus public property versus access to private property. It's a mess. Where do we start?
Yeah, well, first, I think we should identify, what are the potential issues here that gym owners are going to face? Because, I think I even still struggle with this of I'm just pulling out my camera and getting some stuff on film. I'm just getting myself doing muscle ups. What's the big deal? And I have yet to accept that people make money by filming themselves and putting themselves on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube. What did that article that you released? What were they called? Like Fitfluencers or something like that?
Yeah. And they make big money, some of them. I mean, not everyone, but some of these people have huge followings and they are monetizing stuff. But the corollary of that is I'm in the background bench pressing 405 and maybe I don't want to give away my training secrets.
Yeah. That's a good point. So, you're right. What is a gym owner to do? What's the issue here? And so we typically come up against a couple of different potential legal issues, big time, big stuff here. And one of them is invasion of privacy rights. Okay. And we'll kind of talk about how these move into about 4 different scenarios. I think that I kind of broke this stuff down into as we go, but that's a big one. Okay. And that's going to be primarily the individual who's in the background or who's unknowingly being filmed by somebody on their camera. And, they have a right to privacy. They have a right to not want to be on camera. That's why when you hit record on this, Zoom gives me this big, you're being recorded, okay. I at least know it. The other thing that we run into here is copyright issues. Okay. And the more that these fitfluencers get more and more traction and everybody thinks, well, I can come into a gym now and I can video myself doing some bicep curls and that's worth money. And advertiser is eventually going to pay me for that. We run into copyright issues and the copyright issue here really comes into play when you have a gym member that says, gym owner, in this instance, you took my image, you got a video of me doing a back squat, and you're now going to use that in your promotion. And because you're going to use it in your promotion, it's potentially going to bring more people in. So there's a monetary value to that video that you took of me. And I'm going to use the word likeness throughout this whole podcast. Likeness is what we're doing. I'm using your likeness, your image, your video, and I'm using it for my promotion of my business to bring more people in. And so this fitfluencer is going to say, well, you just took my image. That image is worth money. Okay. You are using it in your advertising, so you have to pay me to use that in your advertising. Okay. So we run into these copyright issues of imaging and another potential that I think a lot of gym owners don't realize is running into copyright issues now with music that's being played in the background too. Everybody, every so often on the Two Brain page or on the Gym Owners United Facebook page, somebody pops up and says, a company like BNI or, any of those, they reach out and they say, I have to pay this licensing fee in order to play music in my facility. Can I do it? Or can I get out of this? And we did a whole podcast on that, I think about 2 years ago at this point. But if you've got somebody in your gym who's recording themselves and there's music playing in the background and that person, for whatever reason, has this giant following, you're just raising the chances, if you don't pay for a music license, that some company like BNI is going to come knocking on your door saying, hey, it turns out you're playing music that you're not licensed to play, so fork over $500 a year in order to play that music.
And I'm going to throw one other one at you from the other side. But what if you're a gym owner and you have a Fitfluencer filming in your facility and your branding is in the background and they're making money and your branding's there and maybe you don't agree with what they're doing? Or even worse, what if they're shaming your clients in the background and now it looks like your gym, Joe's Gym, is a place where Fitfluencers shame average people in the background?
Yeah. Yeah. And these are a couple of the issues that we're going to bring up is like sort of like our four highlights of like the potential issues, the four major potential issues that you run into. But yeah, very good, Mike. I mean, those are two really prominent issues. So, let's look at a couple like state law stuff here. New York, for example, has a right to privacy, and they have a civil rights law that provides a right to privacy that prohibits the unauthorized use of a person's name, portrait, or picture for advertising purposes without consent. I mean, that's like it right there. That's what we're talking about from that perspective of like that copyright issue of the gym owner taking somebody's image and then using it to promote their own advertising. California, no surprise, has a civil code that provides a right to publicity that prohibits the unauthorized commercial use of a person's name, voice, signature, photograph, likeness without consent. And Indiana, these are just a couple that I pulled. Indiana has a publicity rights law that provides a right of publicity that prohibits the unauthorized commercial use of a person's name, voice, signature, photograph, image, likeness, etc., without consent. Okay, so that's just a couple of states that have very specific laws that a gym owner could get sued on under some of these circumstances if they're using somebody's image or somebody gets caught on film without consent. Okay, so let's kind of run into our four primary areas here that gym owners tend to run into. I think number 4 will be a little bit of a surprise, but number 1. All right. And also I'm going to use footage. If you're fair with this, Mike, I'm going to use the word footage instead of constantly saying photo or video.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say footage. Okay. All right. So a member is taking footage of themselves and captures somebody in the background.
Super common.
Yeah. I mean, almost impossible in a lot of gyms. Right. And especially if you're a gym owner and you're trying to grow the gym and you want the gym to be really, really busy, it's almost going to be impossible that somebody is not going to get caught in the background of this. So what's the potential problem? Well, if you're a good gym owner and you've got a good waiver and everything, you're going to have that individual who's taking the video footage and potentially the person who's caught in the video footage waiving the use of their likeness for your own promoted materials. Okay. But that individual who's in the background of the video did not consent to have somebody else use their likeness within that video.
So if I filmed that person, it's cool. But if my client filmed themselves and that other client was in the background, there's no waiver that covers that because it's between the client and the other client.
That's exactly right. Yep. Yeah, there's no what's considered, you could say in the legal realm, consideration between the two of those, that they're okay to be videoing each other or one gets the other one. It's only the gym owner going to each one of the clients. We've also run into a similar issue, just on a side on this one, of independent contractor coaches also then using the footage or the videos or the likeness of members when, again, the members' waiver is with the gym itself. And then gyms allow these independent contractors to come in and run their own little businesses within the gym, which, we've done episodes on issues there. But this is another one of now this independent contractor is taking videos and using it for their own promotion, but there's no privilege there. There's no consent there. Anyway, all right, I'll stop getting off on side tangents. So here's, the problem is, this is where these rights to privacy, this invasion of privacy of those states' laws come in, that now the innocent third party that's getting videoed in the background says, hold on a second, I'm in the gym working out. I'm very self-conscious about my personal image to begin with. I certainly don't want people to see me working out, hence why I don't have a camera on me. Okay. So gym owner, you've now allowed somebody to invade my privacy. And a gym owner listening out there might say, well, wait a second, how am I responsible for this? This is the Fitfluencer taking a video and catching somebody in the background. Isn't that Fitfluencer the guy who's actually who's actually responsible here? And yeah, okay, we can make that argument. That's not going to prevent the gym owner from getting sued in the outright. Okay, so at the very least, the gym owner is looking at a legal headache to try to get out of the lawsuit. At the worst, they're now, because it's in their facility, they now have some sort of liability. All right. So how do we fix this first instance?
Yeah.
First instance, I'm getting my video of bicep curls, and Mike's unfortunately in the background. I don't know, trying to do shoulder press. There you go. Benching 405, but he's embarrassed and doesn't want anybody to see it. I was going to say benching 105.
Yeah, that's probably more accurate.
Okay, so pull out your membership contract. All right. If you don't have one, there's a good reason to get one. Pull out your membership contract, and let's throw a little bit of section in there that if you know this is going to be a problem, that you're now going to say in your membership contract that without permission from the gym members are prohibited from videoing or taking images or anything of themselves while in your facility. Okay. We can go blanket policy like that within the membership contract. And we don't just want to put that out there like on a rules of the gym. I mean, certainly we can put it on like a rules of the gym poster that we make on Canva and smack up on the wall. But this is one of these where you really want the gym member to like acknowledge this policy. Okay. And that's why we stuff it into the membership contract, because then when we get that signature on the bottom, they're acknowledging and agreeing to that. So at the start, we can just put this big policy in there that just says no videos, no recordings, essentially no cameras on the floor, which from my gym owner perspective, I think you should have a no phones policy anyway, but
it's almost that we'll call that the no fun policy, right? Then it's
right,
but it's just like you're telling people you can't film. And there is like the follow-on effect of this is that user-generated content is a fantastic thing. That's like one of the keystones of modern marketing. So having your clients filming inside your business and promoting you organically is a really good thing. Is there a way to have like a different policy, or are we locked in there?
So let's go into sort of like scenario number 2. Okay. Well, does this really feel? I want to answer your question, but let's kind of move on to scenario number 2, and
we'll get it at some point.
I think we'll catch it in scenario number 2. Scenario number 2 is, you find out, like you said in the beginning, Mike, that now we've got this fitfluencer with 25,000 followers, 45,000 followers, seeing me filing around on the leg curl machine or something, and I look funny and I'm face down, right? I'm doing my leg curls. So that guy pulls out his camera and starts filming me looking funny, and he's going to put it up for his 45,000 followers to see. That comes back around to me at some point, and now I'm real mad because I didn't consent to be made fun of.
And this happens a lot right now. There's actually a guy, I believe his name is Joey Swoll. He actually breaks down and like analyzes videos where this is happening, because what's happening is like, there was one woman who did it very famously where she was like talking about how someone was creeping on her in the background. It was a dude just kind of like looking over or whatever. And like, he might've been looking at her. He might've been looking at the clock, but she called him out, and this happens regularly now. So people in the background are getting very upset because they're being shamed publicly for something they may or may not have done in front of thousands and thousands of people. And it gets really tough.
Yeah. And that's going to be a very bad reputation for that gym. Okay. Because you can almost guarantee that the finfluencer who is now posting this video is also going to tag the gym. It's like, no, get my name off of that. Get my gym off.
You lose at least one member in the best case scenario.
Okay. So maybe perhaps in this instance, this is when we really want that blanket policy, if you're worried about that, of like no cameras on the floor, no videoing on the floor. But if a gym owner wants to say, let's back it up, their attorney, I don't need to be a complete Buzz Killington here, then what we can do is we can kind of carve out some language here, and we might put in the membership agreement that you, as the gym member, simply are not allowed to either record video or take a picture with somebody else in the background or of somebody else, period. Okay. So yeah, we'll let you, do your muscle up video or whatever, as long as you're the only one in the video. Okay.
Tough, still hard, hey? In a big gym with big classes.
Yeah. Which can be really hard, right? Even if you like give your camera to the coach and you say, hey, will you take a picture of me doing, or like take a video of me doing pull-ups in the workout? Well, let's just say it's like pull-ups and box jumps or something like that. And meanwhile, you're doing your pull-ups and a gym member walks through the frame in order to go to their box jumps. I mean, you just violated the gym's policy. Okay. So this stuff can become very, very, very specific, very particular. And it's just on the gym owner of like what they're comfortable with, understanding these ramifications of with the invasion of privacy and the copyright and the free speech and things like that. And as long as you're comfortable with that, that's what this is designed to do, is raise these issues to the gym owner so that the gym owner can then make the decision about what kind of policy. But I'll say you still need to put these things in writing, and you still need to have these policies signed off on by the gym members, acknowledging that they understand these policies.
Mm-hmm. And I dealt with one. It was a group of 55 plus athletes, and one of them did not want to be filmed at all. And so she did not sign that. She crossed it out of my waiver, didn't sign it. I had to make a note of that. And so when I take pictures, I would have to angle and make sure she wasn't in the shot, or I would have to blur her face, which now with AI, you can just be like, remove person on left, and it'll happen. Right. But that was what I had to do. And often you'll run into this with kids and so forth, where parents don't want their kids' images used. You have to kind of frame the shots properly, compose them as you see fit, or blur faces and things like that. So that's one option that I ran into. And this was years ago before there was, Fitfluencers in my gym.
Right. And that just brings up a really good point. Again, kind of maybe going down a little slide road, but it all fits into play here of, we've got the images of the people in the background, and you're right. I had the exact same scenario in my gym. I've had a couple of individuals come in, and they look at my waiver. My waiver has a very robust likeness portion.
I imagine.
You're gonna be on camera. We reserve the right to take all the pictures and all the footage and use it in all of our promotion. And I'll talk again about sort of copyright waivers in a second, but it says if you're not comfortable with being on camera, you have to give us written notice of that. And sure enough, these members gave written notice of it. And so we always had to make sure that okay, we're pulling out our camera. Who's in the background? We're pulling out our camera and we're going to take a big group shot. Well, okay, hold on. We got to get this person out of there. But that's the other potential that you run into with giving people in the background. If you don't have sort of some photo policy or video policy within your membership agreement, that there's a potential this individual who doesn't want to be on camera at all is now getting caught on camera. And so go back and we were talking about, well, what really is the gym owner's responsibility here if a Fitfluencer happens to catch a member in the background? Well, if they catch the member in the background that said specifically, I don't want to be on camera, you darn right, that's now a gym owner responsibility. That's a gym owner issue.
So there are gyms in the UK, and I forget the names of the chains, but I'll put a link in the show notes to an article I wrote about this. There are gyms that have completely outright banned cameras. Just like no cameras, and that would include phones and recording devices, whatever you call it, not allowed in the gym anymore. That's a really interesting one because filming stuff and taking pictures is a huge part of culture now, but that gym chain, and I think it's two of them, have made that decision. You could certainly make that decision. Is there a Thunderdome option, we'll call it, where it's like anything goes, sign the waiver, we're all filming everything everywhere? Does that work in any way?
I think from a gym owner's perspective, you could get away with something like that, or you could try to by putting it. I mean, it would be similar to like a CCTV provision that we would pump into a liability waiver that just has the member acknowledge that they could be on camera pretty much at any time.
We do that at the Two Brain Summit, for example. We put up notices on the door as people walk in because we're filming everything and just saying like, we are filming everything, and we have people sign and so forth. But like, we have to do that because there are cameras everywhere, and we can't like not film this if you walk by to get a glass of water,
Right. And I think thinking about this really quickly, I think there's two issues that you run into still is, I when I come to the summit, I'm entering into and acknowledging sort of this issue with privacy with Two Brain business. Okay. I'm saying, okay, cool. I understand that by walking in these doors, I am authorizing Two Brain business to use my likeness and I'll be on film and I'll be on camera and everything else. I think it's tough to then say, and you may also be filmed by somebody else. I think the gym owner could potentially avoid some liability. We talked earlier about if this gym member is in the background of a video, the gym owner is still going to get pulled into that lawsuit, whether or not they have an argument that it's not their responsibility. I think in the waiver, and I'd actually have to look at my waiver language to see if we have this baked in currently. Again, if you have cameras, you're kind of automatically baked into this language because you have an audio visual disclosure within the waiver. But that would cover, you may be on cameras from somebody else. But that doesn't get you by the issue of either the individual being made fun of on camera, okay, because that's going to be like, what am I going to do? I'm going to put my waiver in, and you may be the victim of somebody else's ridicule on camera. Like, okay, probably not going to sign that.
I guess a member's code sort of covers that, where it's like bad behavior gets you kicked out, but that still doesn't save the shame of the person who got caught in the video that caused the kicking out.
Right. Yeah. And we have code of conduct language that, again, we pump into our membership contracts that we write for gym owners if they want it in there, that says, any kind of harassment or any kind of harassing language or conduct or anything like that authorizes the gym to immediate termination of the member. And you still have this issue, though, between the fitfluencer and the poor individual that got, there's still a battle there, and it's still happening within the gym. So there's still a potential that the gym owner is going to get pulled into this legally, at least cause a headache before the gym owner can present the waiver that says, look, poor third party, I told you by coming into my facility, you might be on somebody else's camera. It's not my fault you got caught in the background. Your issue is with the fitfluencer, not with me. Okay. That's still, you're getting pulled into a lawsuit. You're still going to have to talk to an attorney. It's still going to take months and months and months for this thing to resolve. Good to have that language in there, but it's still not a full, what did you call it? A thunderdome.
It's just like, there are very few rules.
Yeah. Never think anything in the law is a thunderdome.
We're going to fight it out. Okay. 2 go in, 1 comes out.
Let's go into scenario number 3.
Yeah.
Okay. Member is using the gym for their own self-promotion without giving the gym any benefit of this. And you kind of brought this up, Mike, about, the gym's branding. Well, you said the gym's branding is end up being in the background of like the ridicule video or the making fun of video, but
even in a positive one. Yeah.
Yeah. We talk to gym owners about, within your waiver, you need to have copyright waiver language that says that this member cannot then make any sort of claim as to any benefit that the gym receives from using their likeness within their advertising material. Okay. So, especially when we've got fitfluencers coming in who say like, well, I got 45,000 followers and I get paid for my advertising, whatever. Well, too bad. Okay. By coming into my gym, I'm taking a picture or a video of you as the gym owner. You can't then make a claim to the benefit that I get from using your. Okay. If that's a problem, we need to enter into a contract about that. Right. But what the gym owners often don't think about is like the reverse of that. Okay. Because the fitfluencers coming into your gym and doing all these fitness things and using your equipment, using your space, putting it on video, they're getting the benefit of the fact that they need your facility in order to build their following, in order to do whatever cool fitness related thing that they're doing. They're now going out and sharing that with their 100,000 followers. They're getting more advertising dollars for that, or you've got the person who's coming into your facility and like holding up their protein and being like, try this protein powder.
And it's not the protein that you sell at the gym.
Yeah, right. And it's in your gym. So, just as we're saying, like, we don't want gym members to be making a claim to the gym owner of any benefit that the gym owner gets from using their pictures and their likeness in the gym's marketing. What about the fact that this gym member is now using the gym likeness and their video and using that as a benefit in their marketing? And so that's where, we can run into this issue of like, why we might want like a blanket policy of like no filming, no footage whatsoever in the gym without the gym's permission. Because especially as you grow your gym gets more and more of a popular brand. You go into like CrossFit Mayhem and you start using their branding in the background and be like, hey guys, check it out. I'm at CrossFit Mayhem. Buy this protein.
And trying to catch Rich in the background by accident, which he would not be happy about, right? I think they have very clear rules on that. But yeah, exactly what you're saying. That's a great example. It's like I'm at Rich's gym and I'm selling some stuff with him in the background and he doesn't endorse that.
Nope. He's not going to go for that. And don't think just because you're a little gym, like you don't have value. Okay. You have all this value. Otherwise this fitfluencer wouldn't be in your gym. Okay. So gym owners need to consider that also of if you're going to allow photos and videos and stuff in your gym, do you want to write to any benefit that somebody gets, financial benefit that somebody uses your gym for? Okay. And of course, there's always the issue that this fitfluencer is going to make fun of your gym in some way, shape, or form.
One of the things that I was always worried about was someone filming something and someone's doing something really bad in the background. So someone puts up a video of them like doing a muscle up, and in the background, someone's round back deadlifting and a coach is running over to stop it, but I can't get there in time. And it goes up, and people, instead of looking at the muscle up, say, look at the horrible form at this awful gym.
Yeah, I've had to have that discussion with my coaches at my gym before of there's this is kind of like a gym owner side, but there's two potential issues there. One is the coach is now filming this guy over here doing this muscle up and completely ignoring the guy rounding his back on his deadlift. Okay, that's a problem number one. Okay, that's an internal problem. Like, put the camera down as coach and coach the class. But two, if you do want coaches taking videos of your clients during the workout, and you're kind of okay with that, you do have to pay attention to what's going on in the background. But I think that's more just a discussion for two brand and proper gym management and the image that you're putting forth in your marketing. Yeah, I've always been very paranoid of that. And I've had to have discussions with my coaches of like, look, guys, you got to look in the backgrounds of your videos before you just post these things. Yeah. Okay, how about scenario number 4?
Let's do it.
Ready?
Yep.
This one's a little bit more of a surprise.
Okay, I'm ready.
The gym is using footage of employees or independent contractors for promotional materials or evaluations. All right. And this is one that I would say just about every gym overlooks, because just because somebody's an employee or a contractor at your gym does not mean they're a member at your gym, which means they potentially never signed your liability waiver.
Isn't that interesting?
Which means they've never authorized you to take any video or footage of them, to use their likeness. Okay. So, you walk in and you want to take a picture of your employee demonstrating a deadlift or giving a tactile cue to a member to be like, look, our coaches care. Okay. And you throw that up on your Instagram. You think, oh, well, they're just my employee. They don't mind if I put them on camera. Well, maybe they do. Okay. And you technically need authorization to do that. Or you're getting a big group photo and you've got them bookended by an independent contractor and an employee. Maybe they consent. But remember, consent for one is not consent for one photo is not universal consent. Okay. Unless you've got universal consent in writing. So let's say this time, we're after Murph and I get the big group photo and we've got it bookended with my staff and we take a picture and one of the staff members ends up thinking like, ooh, I don't like how I look in that. I don't want to be in any more photos or videos. Okay. But they don't share that with you and you've never received an authorization to take their pictures or use their videos, and you do it again. Now you run into a potential issue. Okay. And it could just be an awkward conversation issue, but you have to assume that the same authorizations that you need from your members, you need from your staff as well. Okay. You can't just make an assumption that by coming into your facility, they're automatically consenting.
What's funny, Matt, is I've taken corporate pictures and I've actually quickly talked to the organizer and said, is anyone here likely to be fired in the next 2 months? And if so, we're going to place them on the left, and we're going to crop that photo later. And it happens. It's kind of funny, but it happens.
Yeah. And that's why, first we need to put this very similar authorization language that we put into our waivers for our members to sign. We also need to be putting that into our employee contracts or independent contractor agreements. Okay. And, you just raised the interesting point that we can't just have this language boxed in by during your employment or during your term here as an independent contractor. It needs to be there and expanding into the future unless the employee says something otherwise.
I believe I used something like, in all known forms of media currently invented or to be invented throughout the known universe in perpetuity. Right?
There you go. And you always put the onus on the other person to say, like, you have to send me written consent or written, a notice that you want me to stop using your likeness. Mm-hmm. Never do anything verbally. It always needs to be in writing so you have proof of it. But that's where some gym owners are starting to get issues, because you're right, Mike, as we have little professional cinematographies in our pockets, and they're coming out more and more, and they're everywhere. And you've got cameras up here and you've got them in the facility. Did your coach, did your staff consent to be on your CCTV system, that's a potential problem. And then, there's hopefully your gym is doing quarterly evaluations of your coaches. And now you might be getting a video of your coach doing something wrong so that you can use it in the evaluation. Okay. That's shaming, right? That's the same thing we're talking about like filming somebody in the background. Now, granted, we're not sticking it up there in front of 45,000 viewers and making fun of them, but you're still potentially using this in a negative way. And
wow,
that could offend somebody.
I'm going to ask you, take off your legal hat for a second and just be a gym owner for a second, if you can. And the question here would be, I know this is a tough one for you because you are who you are. Try and separate for a second. And so we understand that like the safest thing you could do is an airtight waiver that covers filming by the gym owner and the staff and covers filming of staff, filming of background, filming of people in the background. How do you enforce it when people pull out their phones? What do you do?
Yeah. I think that's a culture issue of, you have to get your entire staff on it. This is much easier, let's say, in a CrossFit gym than it is in like a 24/7 gym.
Yeah, those are tough.
In my gym, we had, I literally went to Canva and I printed out sort of like the rules of the gym and I smacked it up there on the wall above the dumbbells. And rule number 1 was no phones on the exercise floor during classes.
Make a safety case for that too.
Sure. And then I just had to go to my staff and say to them, and it took, when we installed the rule, it took a little bit of time to get everybody on board of like, you need to enforce this. You need to enforce this. You need to enforce this. And even still recently, I had a conversation with my GM where we did that. We did all that pre-COVID. Post-COVID, they came back. And I don't know how it got relaxed, but the no phones policy got a little bit relaxed after COVID. And only recently did it start to become an issue. And not so much because people were filming, but, from a gym owner's perspective, they're texting and they're not paying attention and they're checking their email. And so it just becomes a distraction in general. You're right, Mike. We can make a very easy safety argument here. And so we've had to go back to the staff and say, guys, remember, the gym rules are still up on the wall. I didn't take them down. And rule number 1 is still no phones on the exercise floor during class. We need to go back to reinforcing this. Okay. So very easily done when we're running group classes and you've got one individual standing up and then all the people in the back, right? All the people in class. Now, we run into more of an issue here. If we'll just start with open access. That's sort of like the next tier up. So we've got open access so people can just come in and use the facility however they want, whenever they want. Maybe we restrict hours. So we go from like 5 a.m. to 8 p.m. So we have staffing. A little bit more difficult to do it because you're not going to be like watching people walking out into the gym from the locker rooms to check whether or not they've got their phones on them. I think from there, it's just a matter of kind of like forcing your staff to have that uncomfortable conversation when somebody does this, to walk up and say, back on that wall in your membership agreement, we say no phones. You confirmed no phones. Please put the phone away. Okay. And we can also then have baked into like the authorizations or acknowledgments in our membership contract of like, what is the punishment? If there's no punishment, then this thing has no teeth. So are we going to institute a fine? Are we going to potentially terminate membership? You need to have some sort of punishment or negative impact, if you don't like the word punishment, within your membership agreement that says, okay, so now you've got the teeth for the staff to go in and say, when they do this, nope, sorry, you need to put your phone away. And please recall that in your membership agreement that if we see it as being a continuing problem, we do reserve the right to terminate your membership. We're not going to allow that in here. Okay.
So put the gym owner hat back on. I got to ask you this. So I could see up maybe 80% of gym owners who are listening to this saying, I'm not going to stop people from filming in my gym. Is your advice then as a lawyer saying, okay, but that comes with risk?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's, that's 9 times out of 10 what our conversations are with gym owners is Coop and I talked about that last week on Gym Owners Unite. I guess maybe it was last week with selling paid in full contracts.
Yeah.
As long as you're following your state's laws for paid in full contracts, you're welcome to sell them. It's still going to bring a headache. And you have to be ready for that potential headache. And if you know that and you acknowledge the potential headache and you still think it's best for your business, then by all means, go do it. Okay. If you understand all of these, these four scenarios that we've laid out here is sort of like the most common issues that you're going to run into with footage. And you're okay with that because you don't want your staff to have to enforce something like this. You don't want to have to threaten to terminate somebody if they pull out a phone. That's okay. We just have to know it so that we're prepared, right? You know it so that you essentially as the gym owner are acknowledging, I guess with me, but I can't do anything about it. But you're acknowledging that, okay, I know the potential risks here, and I still think it's better for my business to allow the Fitfluencers in. Great. But you're making an sort of like an informed decision here. Now we run into 24-hour. Let's sort of go like the worst, the 24/7 access. And now you've got somebody at 2:00 in the morning. I mean, hopefully at 2:00 in the morning, there's not going to be a lot of people in the background. Okay, so maybe that's not a huge concern, but you likely don't have staffed hours at 2:00 in the morning, so there's not going to be anybody there to enforce this. But let's say you're a gym owner that is now listening to this and saying, nope, we are done. There are no phones permitted in the gym now whatsoever. I'm going to reinstate this coming up on January 1. So what do we do about it? Well, similarly, again, in the membership agreement is really the only place that we can get a signed off authorization or acknowledgement from the gym member about this. And so oftentimes we'll treat this like tailgating. So if you're not familiar, in a 24/7 access gym, you run the issue of tailgating, which basically means I use my key fob to open up the door and I hurry up and get like 5 of my friends to run in with me too, right? We're 2:00 in the morning, the gym owner's never going to know, whatever. They're on camera. Okay. If you're running a 24/7 access gym without cameras, you're just, let's have a conversation about something different, but they're on camera. So we put in the membership agreement that says this agreement applies only to you and gives you and only you access to the gym. And if we find out that you're letting other people in, whatever the gym owner wants to do, typically the gym owner's fine with saying we're going to terminate them for the lifetime of the gym. Okay. Or, violation 1 is $100 fine. Violation 2 is you're terminated. We would just put something like that in the agreement. That's about the best way we can control the 24/7 access gyms is to say now, if you review the corner camera footage next day and you see this guy, just all over getting videos and everything else, well, they acknowledge in the membership agreement that there's a potential punishment for that. And that's now just the uncomfortable conversation we have to have with the member. But from a gym owner's perspective, taking off that legal hat again, it's the culture that you're creating at the gym. And I think that's what, I don't dare speak for Two Brain as I'm not a Two Brain mentor, but, that's always been my understanding of like, anytime we're trying to enforce these sort of, maybe at this point, sort of like fringe policies and procedures, it's all the culture. It's the culture that you create. It's the culture that you as the owner enforce and that you put forth through your staff that your gym members, with maybe a little bit of encouragement, are eventually going to follow, and they're not going to have any issues.
Okay, so to wrap this, I want to give people some actionable stuff. So let me lay out a couple of things. So from the legal side of it, if you wanted to be as insulated as possible, it would be a great idea to talk to Matt at gymlawyers.com and get media-related language in your employment and member contracts. Was that correct, Matt?
And waivers.
So
yes,
there you go.
That's it.
Okay, so that's the big one. If that's where you want to go to the nth degree, that's what you do. Now, I'll give you, Matt, and this is where I want you to be a gym owner with me, but please advise, because I want to talk about risk mitigation strategies. And these are just kind of off the top of my head as a gym owner, thinking as a gym owner. Tell me if the stuff like this works. You could you got a code of conduct, and in that code of conduct, you just enforce good behavior and honorable conduct. So that gives you grounds of someone shaming in any way, whether it's on camera or not. You've got some backup there. And when people come in, they at least know I'm expected to be a decent human being. That should eliminate some problems right off the bat. Another thing that you could do is you could certainly organize group photos where people can pull out their phones, say at the end of class in a safe manner and say, hey, we're going to do a group photo. Anyone who doesn't want to be in it, hang out over there and we're going to do a shot. You could do something like that, I imagine, just to get some people who are uncomfortable out of the way. I think another thing that you could do is make sure that if someone is filming, know your membership. If there are people who are definitely not going to be comfortable make some judgment calls, right? If you've got like a deep cover CIA operative in the background, maybe like, bring that up and it's, just maybe Phil needs to not be in this shot kind of thing. You get what I'm saying? You can just find, people who don't want to be in this stuff, right? So if someone mentions something once, be courteous. I think another thing that you might do in a gym is even have a selfie area where you've got like a really cool, well-lit area where people gravitate toward it for the best visuals. And that keeps people out of the background, right? This is where we want selfies to happen. That's one way to do it. Like that, you could also do a video area where it's like no cameras beyond this point. You could put a tripod here and here, and maybe they're mounted to the floor or something, and it films that way only, and there's no background stuff. It's just a wall and whatever stuff. Again, this doesn't work super well in a giant global gym where the leg press machine is and the water fountain is behind it. But in a CrossFit gym or in a functional fitness, it could work like that, where it's like that area over there is where you film. And if you don't want to be filmed, don't go there. Now, again, this isn't legal advice, right? This is not legal advice saying that this is insulating, but Matt, do you see those at least as reasonable risk mitigation strategies?
Definitely. Yeah. And we have done things like that too, where, my gym happens to be set up because it's a CrossFit gym where it's like everybody works out in like a line, essentially because the pull-up rig, right, is against the wall. And so we'll say, look, if you want to be on camera and you want us to film your workout, we're going to put you all the way down there at the end, and that's going to be your spot. So then the coach essentially just gets the bare wall behind them. Another thing that we've done is, we have said things like, well, if you want to get a particular movement on camera, we're going to do that before or after the workout. And that way we can kind of clear everybody out, and we don't have to worry about people being on camera if they don't want to be on camera. I'm just going to throw you, you go over to the pull-up rig, you do some toes to bar. I'm going to get that on film. And then, maybe we do that during the 5 minutes between the warm up and 3, 2, 1, go, while everybody's got their bathroom breaks. And somebody's like, can you get some toes to bar on camera? Yeah, we can. Okay. So, those are some different strategies, but I think you've laid out good ones. I never really thought about the selfie area of the gym. I really like that idea.
I know some gyms are doing it with lighting where they're putting in like cool, LED lighting in the back or LED lighting in the background. So it looks cool and you have the right backgrounds. You could probably just like funnel people into certain areas by doing that and having a really good background that you want to show off. I thought of a couple other things where you could even, in some ways, you could use this almost as a personal training thing where it's like, hey, if you want video analysis and you want to, specific videos and all this stuff to film workouts, we can set up personal sessions where I can help make that happen for you. And then you can control the background. And then another thing that you could even do, with influencers is, could you charge them like a rental fee, a facility rental fee, and say, hey, if you want to film here, you can now rent my facility for 3 hours at this rate, and it'll be free of people. You have the world as your oyster. Would that work?
I think you should start to be charged for these ideas, Michael.
Well, there you go. That's what we're trying to do is give. I'm thinking like Cooper here. I'm thinking, how can I make this work?
Yeah, that'd be a pretty easy agreement. That'd be like a regular facility sublease that we would do. That that Fitfluencer sees value, and you want to charge them $300 a month to be able to come in, and you'll create a little space for them so that they can do their videos. I got a little corner in the back of my gym that's got its own pull-up rig and will fit a little bit of equipment. Yeah, I could promote that quite well in my gym.
And there are cross-promotional ideas, right? You could find a way. You could get a Fitfluencer to promote your gym as part of some sort of a deal that works for both parties. We'll wrap it up here, but the idea is cover your bases in some way, use some risk mitigation strategies at the very highest level, use a lawyer. And Matt, where can people get a hold of you if they want to talk about this?
Easiest way is just go to gymlawyers.com. And there's calls to action all over the website. My email is on the contact page. My cell phone's on the contact page. That's really the easiest way to go about it. If you fill out one of the calls to action, you'll get right to my scheduling calendar. You can schedule a 45-minute free intro and we can talk all about this.
Or any other legal problem you have?
Yeah, right. Anything at all. It's all there. And I'm always able to answer questions or willing to. But, I just want to leave the gym owners with this, Mike. And we've kind of bounced around this the entire time. And that is just the simple fact of this stuff is going to come at gym owners. I've been, for whatever reason, remembering back to when I started my gym over 10 years ago and thinking, back then it was a hobby, and then all these, two brain companies come out and they teach us all that this stuff exists like a real business. And you can look over that time and see these different issues that gym owners have had to deal with like real businesses since, about like 2010, up into today. So, I often try to hammer it home that Just because you're a gym owner doesn't mean you don't deal with these like other businesses do. They're coming, and it's best to get out in front of them because the gym industry, the micro gyms, are real businesses.
I won't say anything to that. That is exactly how you should do it. Run your business like it's a business. And if you need help with that, Two Brain Business can help you.
Two Brain Business.
There you go. Matthew Becker, gymlawyers.com. Head over there, see him, talk to him if you need some assistance. Thanks so much, Matthew.
Always a pleasure, Mike.
Thanks for listening to Run a Profitable Gym. On your way out, please hit subscribe wherever you're watching or listening so you do not miss a show. Now, here's Chris Cooper with the final message.
Hey, it's Two Brain founder Chris Cooper with a quick note. We created the Gym Owners United Facebook group to help you run a profitable gym. Thousands of gym owners just like you have already joined. In the group, we share sound advice about the business of fitness every day. I answer questions, I run free webinars, and I give away all kinds of great resources to help you grow your gym. I'd love to have you in that group. It's Gym Owners United on Facebook, or go to gymownersunited.com to join. Do it today.